So here I was in 1936, 37 years ago. I was just a person following my path. I was a social worker, child welfare social worker, and I had 2 children, and I had a dog or 2 dogs. I lived in the suburbs, but I didn't drive a station wagon. I was the Donna Reed of my time. If anybody remembers Donna Reed, I was it. I dressed up to take my kids to school. I had dinner at the table at 6 o'clock when my husband came home. And then a friend of mine who was a psychiatric nurse introduced me to a man, a doctor from Russia or from wherever he was from, who could send energy from his aura to my aura and help me heal. And what, come on, people, that's not real, you know? So old skeptical Patner said, well, it's better than sitting home and watching television. So off we went. And it was a very scary time because it was dark in Woodside. We couldn't find the address. There were 2 huge German Shepherd dogs barking at the front door. And my friend literally pushed me in. She pushes me into this house that has incense. I've never smelled incense before. It has crucifixes all over the house. I'm a Jewish girl from Skokie, Illinois. What do I know? Oh, this is over the top. And I sit down in the front to watch this man go, because I'm going to report back to everybody what a fraud he is, right? So there I'm sitting politely, but with one eye open and one eye shut. And something in my head said, be quiet, Lynn, and shut your eyes. And I look around the room. Everybody is resting on the floor. There's nobody talking to me. And so I went with it. I shut my eyes. And the minute I shut my eyes, I had a current of energy come up all my 7 chakras. I never knew what a chakra was, but it was all 7 chakras. And it hit my head, and it was 4th of July, and my sinuses cleared up. And it was like, OMG, this is the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And afterwards, I didn't want to go home. I just wanted to sit in this energy. And it raised my curiosity. So everybody comes into spirituality with different things. I was curious. This is over the top. I knew what my life was then, and now look at this magic that just happened. So I started to pursue that. I had no idea what I was doing. No, 0 idea. I was just going with it. And in 2000, this was in the 90s when I had it happen. And I followed every lead. I told my I told my coworkers, I said, I'm going to be spiritual in 2 years. And they went, but I was. I didn't understand it all, but I was spiritual in 2 years. And this is what my assignment was, because we're all born for a reason. Each and every one of us, I tell people, you imagine the ocean, let's call it the Pacific, because I just came from that. Here's a huge Pacific Ocean, and you have one little drop, and that one little drop is you. Is that still part of the ocean? Yes. Are you a child of God, like some people believe you could be? I believe you're a divine being. I believe you are part of a divine lineage that has come to this planet to find out who you are and why you're here. Who you are as a divine being. Why you're here is to give love and light and compassion for everybody's journey. How do you learn that when we're so downloaded with all of this other stuff from our parents, from society, from our life, from our friends? It is really hard to change from the human egoic self to the spiritual self, the soul self. So what happened for me is I was teaching a class called The Artist Way. And in that class, you're supposed to have a play date, and you're also supposed to have a play date and do morning pages. And morning pages are great. You just sit up in bed and you just stream of consciousness writing, and you never look at anything. Spelling is always correct. It doesn't matter. You just do it. So one day I was late and I hurried to work, and we used to have dictation booths at the Department of Social Services where you dictate court reports. So I'd be sitting in one of those booths, and I started my morning pages, and here's what came out. This blew my socks off. You ready? Okay. Quote, there are so many hurting people in the world, all trying to tap their way out of a shell and emerge healthy. So many barriers. Look to do this work joyfully. Don't be your own worst friend. Remember, you are doing the best you can with the tools you have. Allow this process to go on and get out of the way, especially if you are not serving yourself. Always remember, you are not alone. There are many entities around who are assisting people in their growth toward the light. They may not be aware of it at first, but the moments of synchronicity are too numerous for the unfolding conscious mind to ignore. When I wrote that sentence, I knew it wasn't me. I would have never come up with that sentence. It is truly wonderful to observe all the positive growth through pain and the emergence of a new spiritual being that will shed light on people in their own way. One must experience the pain and anguish in order to see it's only a momentary stop-off in life before they get onto the real work of living. There is a plan for everyone, and everyone must take the journey alone. So there is a plan for everybody. I wrote that, did not have a clue how I did it, didn't know about guides, didn't know about anything. So then my journey starts. And everybody I followed in this journey taught me a different lesson. One told me how to become a rock. I became a rock in body focusing so I could learn to be the silent witness. Another time I was working with a guru whose presence of love, she walked into a room and all you did was cry. I mean, there was such a high vibration of this being. And the more I have learned in this journey of 36 years or more, the more I see that we are all children, and children have been wounded. Before the age of 0 to 8, you have a wound, and it's not always parents. It can be somebody at school who makes fun of you. In my case, it was going to nursery school and having the person be really unkind to me because I was bossy, and I didn't know I was bossy. And so I thought something was wrong with me. So from 3 years old on up, I had this wound. I'm not enough. And let me tell you something, I didn't stop this wound until I was 76, or maybe, 76. That long. When I met Jack Canfield and had an interview by him, of 17 people in my group, and I had a panic attack. And I said, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. But I didn't have a heart attack. I was playing the card, I'm not enough. He's not going to like me. He's not going to like my book. The other people are smarter than I am. And that's when I stopped. And I said, this is enough. And then I looked and I said, okay, God, you wanted me to write the book. I wrote the book. If he likes it, he likes it. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. I did what I was told to do. I did it. I'm done here. I did it. I'm playful. I'm very playful. And I like that part. And you know what happened after that? Jack loved my book. If you could see the interview with me sitting with Jack Canfield, you'd think we were the best of friends always. I mean, I had no panic at all. I wasn't anxious. I didn't care who he was. It didn't matter to me. And after that, I got an editor and then a publisher. You know, that doesn't happen with a first book, a spiritual memoir. So God's doing his job or her job or this energetic job. You know, for me, God is this big energy of love and kindness, and it vibrates in your vibration. And so I just got back from Mexico, and then I'm going to tell you a story of how I found out that we're here for a reason. And in Mexico, I was put in places where someone would come over to me and they'd start talking to me for no reason at all. And then they'd want to know more about me. And then they would ask for my business card. And then they would email me that they wanted to do something with me. And it was just like, wow, look at all ages, from 20 teenagers to 20-year-olds to 30 to 40 to 50, 60, 70. I don't think I've done, well, maybe I've done an 80-year-old. I don't know. I'm almost there, so we'll see. But I just get so honored when that happens, because I know it's a divine thing happening to me. So on my way to becoming spiritual, all of my stories in my book are what I learned: how to open my heart, how to be the silent witness, how to listen, how to come from love and compassion. One time, this is a quick story, and then there's another quick one, because I don't want to run out of my 15 minutes here. I had gone to this, I'd follow this energy path, and there was a woman who was a channel. She was considered an out-of-body channel. And so she would definitely shape shift basically and become bigger than she was. And I knew she was closer to God than I was because her vibration was so high. So I booked a session for her. I was going to talk to her and tell her how terrible things were down here. And I wanted her to tell God. And that's a true story. So I pay $125 to meet with this lady. And I go to meet her and she come and I'm scared to death. You know, I had to go through my wardrobe. What do you wear when you're complaining to God? You know, I didn't know what I was going to wear. Something soft, something not, you know. And I'm sitting there shaking, you know, like this. And she comes in the room and she said, well, why did you come here? And I said, I want to tell you that you are closer to God than I am. And I want you to know that I'm not happy with how the children are being treated down here because I'm working in child abuse and neglect, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. I'm seeing all this and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the children because they're very beautiful little kids. And she said to me, you can talk to God anytime. You don't have to use me. She said, but this is what you need to learn here. You need to learn from compassion, non-judgment. Everybody's here for a reason. You don't know what their lineage is. You don't know why their soul has picked this particular path. You just have to come from love and compassion. And that made me one of the best social workers in San Mateo County because I changed the judgment and the anger to one of I didn't love what they did, but I didn't know. It wasn't my job to judge them. That's not my job. And I got that. I got it totally. So that was in that case. The next story is how I found out I'm here, the why I'm here. I had a little girl whose parents were drug addicts and she had been born and the father was HIV. They both had been sexually abused. They had for pets boa constrictors and rats and all sorts of delightful things, you know. And I had never had to remove a baby before, but the baby was born with complications due to the drug usage, and she was at Stanford Hospital. And because the parents used during the evening, they slept all day. And they would go to Stanford at night and they would demand that someone teach them how to take care of their baby. Well, that wasn't acceptable. The Stanford nurses weren't going to do that. So I literally pulled the child from the parents. My job was family maintenance, family reunification. So it went from, she was removed, I'll call her Abby. So Abby was removed by me and she went to a medical fragile infant home where they took care of her, which I love this woman who took care of her. And it was a 6-month review. And the court says, in order to make sure that this child has a start in life at the 6th month, you either give them 12 months because they're trying or they're not trying and you put up the child for adoption. At that point, we would write a court report terminating parental rights and letting this child be free to be adopted. In this case, the father was slippery, but the mother wasn't. The mother was going to treatment and she was doing well. I wasn't happy because I did not want to place this child back home. There was nothing in me, and that is the truth. So the baby's 6-month-old and I have to write this court report about it. And so my therapist was a non-conditional therapist. And she said, have you ever talked to the baby about this? And I laughed. I said, how can you talk to a 6-month-old baby? You know, that's ridiculous. She said, you can. I said, oh, well, okay, let's talk to her. So she had me, you know, we got very quiet in a meditative way. And she said, from your higher Christ self to Abby's higher Christ self, do you have permission to talk to her? You always have to ask permission. So I asked permission and Abby granted the permission, 6 months old. And she thanked me profusely for taking care of her. But she said she had come here to show her parents how to love, that she did not want me to keep her out. She wanted me to leave her back in the home and teach her parents how to love. So you know how I felt. So you know what I did? I told the father, I said, your daughter said she's here to teach you how to love. Now that was risky on my part. But I wanted to tell him because he could have gone to my supervisor and said, you have a lunatic working for you here. I mean, how many people talk to a 6-month-old baby? I mean, it's one of my funny stories. There's a lot of stories in the book that show what I learned and how I learned it. I learned it so that I could teach. My book is the midwife for awakening souls. because when you read my book, or if you read my book, or even if you listen to me speak, you start thinking yourself, what was my wound? How did the wound affect me through my life? What has it caused in my life? Because we all have wounds. You cannot come through this life without a wound. And then how do you handle that? And you can reflect on that and say, you know, that's not who I am. That happened to me before the age of 8 or 10. That's not me. I did nothing wrong. And it's so freeing when you see that. There's so much on people's, you go for therapy for years and years and years, and you never clear up your wounds. I think they're doing far more now, but I've enjoyed I have enjoyed this so much. And I absolutely love where I'm at now. I'm in total peace. I know everything's happening for a reason. I don't lose balance, and I love people. I talk to everybody. So I'm always available. I'm an open book, and I was an open book. So that's all I have to say. It's your floor now.